MITAKUYE OYSAIN. Welcome home, my family. I'm here to do a video journal. I just kind of want to show some transparency and some non-verbal things that might be picked up from either my prosody or my subtle micro facial movements, perhaps that only the artificial intelligence can read. However, I'm a big believer, and therefore one of my beliefs is that you will be able to be perceptive of these things also. And so again, this is a video journal, so I'm going to mention a couple different things. One, I can feel the need or the value and importance of me personally working with sananga. I keep having some resistance to working with sananga. However, also it really helps me remove the emotional attachment and the judgment and the stress and relieving the tension from the body through working with the eye drops, and also helping me correct my perceptions. It's a very, very helpful piece, especially when I'm stuffing down and repressing my truth and not allowing total expression. And so even when I'm experiencing the medicine of sananga and I'm using the eye drops, I could go like this and really escape and leave the emotion and dissociate from it. And so I like to kind of instead lean into that and to give myself permission to have a space to have that experience and to see what else I can learn from working with this sananga. And I've had many great experiences. I can say maybe 50 times I've worked with sananga, and one time doing a 30-day nonstop sananga and also having the experience before. So perhaps it's less, maybe we'll say it's 30 times, and perhaps it's more, maybe it's like 41. I'm losing count. Perhaps I can do another 30-day treatment at some point, and mainly because the medicine needs to get used up is what I'm feeling. It's been in my refrigerator a while, it's losing some of its potency, and I would like to continue my journey, especially while the medicine is still very potent and strong. So now I'm going to step into something else. So I am in an experience of what can be described as perceived failures. I have gone out today with the intention to put up some flyers inside some local grocery stores, and I had some places written down on a piece of paper, and it seems like I've made some errors because I thought that there were select locations that had this cork board or bulletin board available for locals to put their flyers up, and I thought that one of the places was Safeway and another was this grocery store here called Hagen's or Hagen's. And basically the one in Hagen's, the bulletin board was behind a bunch of electric auto operative kind of wheelchairs or electric wheelchairs or motor carts. And so it was kind of difficult to put my flyer up there and didn't feel like I was really accessible in order to expand my business here, where I'm offering these services to the locals. And I also went to Safeway, and it turns out I have made an error, and apparently I am remembering incorrectly, and that there is no bulletin board to put your flyer up in the Safeway. And so now I'm a little frustrated, and I want to say like discombobulated, but maybe that's not like the most appropriate term or like accurate term. It's just like an emotional mental feeling state of like all this resistance or all these things are up against me, or perhaps that's also my perception of it. Perhaps I am being shown more of this contrast to show like this isn't really what I want to be doing, and that I want to be doing other things. And then I'm also lacking the belief that I can do those other things, or that others will see the value in what I have to offer. And that can be excruciating, especially when I'm believing that I'm not valuable or worth contributing to society, or that I have nothing to offer. And then I can see sometimes that is completely false, that it's not true. However, on some deep I want to say subcortical, but that doesn't seem like that'll make sense. But it's like this subconscious level of like neurosynapses or something where like there's a misfiring in my brain, or I don't know how to communicate this, or just like there's dysregulation, or there's lack of belief of a possibility of an acceptance of having this perceived identity that I choose to have. And it's funny, in some levels it's kind of comical, because I've had experiences where I have one-on-one clients where I'm working and helping, and you could say coaching or leading. I'm leading through allowing emotions to surface and then guiding on how those emotions can be removed. And so today I'm taking my own medicine. I'm having to follow my own protocols, meaning like give yourself permission to cry. Your brain is wanting release from the stress, so try to just let it go. And I have to continue to remind myself to stay in the awareness state, meaning like, yes, I can see that I want to cry and I want to let it out, and I can notice my frustration that my body just won't allow it to express itself. And then I can notice that I'm upset that it's not letting me be upset, or that the feelings aren't coming out. And then instead of like forcing or being someone I'm not, just allowing myself to be where I'm at. And sometimes that's also challenging, right? Because it's like a feeling of defeat. Is like I had this expectation that I was going to deliver and I was going to show up in a very specific way. And when I'm not getting the desired outcome, I start to feel a little sick of myself and of the experience. And I feel like I need a reminder of hope, or just like I need a place where I can thrive as my other identity, which I have seen and experienced through being in containers with other people, where I'm able to provide that kind of affection and listening and empathy, like completely actually being able to sympathize and understand where the person's coming from a complete 100% way, and almost like validating, like, oh, that completely makes sense why you feel that way, why you feel rejected, or I can see that. And also being able to notice like when it's not appropriate to agree. Does that make sense? Like I have to notice that it's not appropriate to agree with Trina that she's absolutely worth nothing and worth no good, and she's no good, and she's not a good enough person. And I can see the benefit of taking inventory of Trina. It would help if we can work on your talking more positively about yourself, instead of needing other people to give you your love language of words. If we can learn to be this loving, soft, kind voice to yourself, and then we would know how to do that to other people. And I'm not saying like I'm completely terrible at talking to people in loving ways. However, I'm noticing that I'm only able to show up as much as I'm able to be within myself. So I can see the benefit of potentially having a great female, possibly, role model of just affectionate, kind nature and respect and resonance and all these other things that I am noticing are very important for me in my personal self-development. And when I'm seemingly or perceived to be lacking those types of role models and characters, it can become, again, very painful, because it's like, why am I undeserving of having a good role model around me where I can shift and become more like her, who is like a mom and just gentle and kind and nurturing. And then that can create a I don't know if it's like resentment, or like it's almost like a jealousy or something of like, God, why can't I? Like, God, why won't you give me someone who will love and nurture me? Like, or like even worse, like, why can't I love and nurture me? Like, why is there so much like self-hate? And I know the answer to that too is also challenging. It's recently become revealed that I've denied myself my own needs. I denied myself to saying, hold it. Don't go to the bathroom right now. Just hold it. You don't need to go right now. You don't need to drink water right now. You don't need to eat right now. Just keep going. And so like over time, that's like built up. that feeling and that idea and that relationship with myself, that when I tell myself I don't feel good and I need to relax and lay down, and I make myself keep going and doing it anyway. And there's benefits of doing that, like no matter how you feel, like keep exercising, you know, or keep working through the things. But there's also like a level of the other way of needing to give myself the support and the nurturance that I need. And sometimes there can be a shame or a guilt, and it goes both ways, shame or guilt that I'm not doing those things for myself, or sometimes the other way, that when I am buying myself flowers or paying for myself to go out to eat, there can be a shame or a guilt tripping of like, well, you should have spent your money in a different way instead of buying yourself a $20 lunch or Indian food or something that you really want. Instead of being able to really celebrate, I can notice the need to celebrate the little things. However, also just going deeply into those feelings of gratitude and things like that are a little more challenging. I've also recently stopped smoking marijuana, and I've been in this process of smoking weed and not smoking weed and smoking and not smoking, and now I'm in a state where it's legal, so it's a lot easier accessible. There's a lot more people who are doing it. It's a lot more socially acceptable, and I haven't smoked since the beginning of February. And I don't know if it's like February 1st that I stopped or January 31st. I can confidently say that February 4th, like from absolute confidence that from that moment on, I have not smoked. And again, it's possible that's the 3rd or sooner. But I can say 100% confidence on the 4th, 99% on the 3rd, if not 100% actually. But just like from that point on, I haven't been smoking, so I haven't been using that coping mechanism that every time I'm in pain, that I turn to a substance to bring me joy and to bring more lightheartedness. So I'm having to really be present with myself and my emotions. And there's all of these like motor skills of just like, you know, palm to mouth type things and like, you know, do different gestures or hand behaviors that's just normal or was normal for my path to do that. And there's definitely like shame and guilt and anger and things like that about that path. And there's reasons and identities and environments that I was in that made that a normalized thing. And there was a lot of shame and like others who shamed me that I was doing that and made it like it was such a bad thing. So that created a rebellion against what they were saying and to indulge in doing that raging performance and thing that, you know, long term isn't really good for my body, for me to be dealing with grief and anger and sadness and the expression of emotions in that way. I've been in places where if I show a lot of emotion, that individuals are subtracting themselves from my experience and that I am perceived as too much because I am so feeling. And some people make fun of me and say it's because I'm a Pisces. You know, I don't really like that storytelling or that labeling and things like that. Instead, I would prefer to have like compassion for my experience and know that like my emotions are like what they are in my development, and that there's been a lot of repression of like the story of what has happened in my life and downplaying and discounting and acting like, oh, that wasn't that bad or that didn't really happen. And you know, now I'm maturing, so I'm in a state where I'm able to kind of be more honest with myself. However, also just it's a little overwhelming to be processing and identifying and associating with myself in this way. And if I had not had experienced these deep intricacies about my identity and self-mastery, I would not be able to notice them when they're in someone else's experience. And so I think that I'll be able to help people a lot